Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. As always, I appreciate you guys taking time to watch the videos. Today we have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and discuss. So before we dive into these topics, do me a favor and hit the like button to help this video out and show it your support. And if you are new here to the channel, hit that subscribe button as well. Now the first topic we're talking about revolves around Activision. Once again, we have a little bit of an update on this ongoing situation. And the first update is that apparently PlayStation has removed Call of Duty Vanguard from its featured section on the PSN store. This is reading from PlayStation Universe. They say yesterday reports involving Jim Ryan being disheartened and frankly stunned by Activision Blizzard were published. Today, Call of Duty Vanguard has been removed from the PlayStation Store's featured section. Activision Blizzard has been constantly under pressure from what now seems to be the rest of the industry, from professionals to community members alike, to rectify the seemingly terrible work environment and for the right heads to roll so change can occur. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Charlie Intel over on Twitter who first noticed this, and they put a before and after picture that says today versus yesterday, where you can clearly see that Call of Duty Vanguard was removed. Now, I do think that this is worth pointing out because a question that a lot of PlayStation fans were asking is, well, you know, is Sony actually going to do anything? And I think that this is the first sign that if things don't change at some point in the not too distant future when it comes to Activision, I believe Sony will take further action. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. I don't see why they would do something like this to then not do anything more serious if it stays the same. If anything, maybe this is just a little warning from Sony to Activision and the board there that seemingly doesn't want to budge, that if you guys don't do something, we're going to sever ties. Now, continuing with this, Activision actually did respond to criticism from both Sony and Microsoft, and we're going to talk about what Microsoft had to say in a minute. But it says here that Activision Blizzard has just responded to comments from both Sony and Microsoft heads. Yesterday, Jim Ryan said he was disheartened and frankly stunned to hear about the state of Activision Blizzard, and today, Phil Spencer went further, saying he is evaluating all aspects of Xbox's relationship with Activision. The response comes by way of GamesIndustry.biz, who posted the quote from Activision on Twitter. It's a very typical non-answer that doesn't really tell us much. And it says here via Games Industry's Twitter update, Activision has responded to Sony and Microsoft's comments saying, quote, "We respect all feedback from our valued partners and are engaging with them further," unquote. And so clearly it's not much of an answer at all. But what is worth pointing out here is that Sony and now Microsoft are both putting a ton of pressure on Activision, which is good. And I am glad to see that Xbox is chiming in. Now, you might be wondering why this is still a thing. Why is it continuing to escalate? The reason for that is because the board of Activision is not budging. They are continuing to rally behind Bobby Kotick and not really do anything at all in response to everything that's happening, even with the pressure from both Sony and Microsoft being applied. And it's pretty embarrassing. You would think that by this point it would have ended and things would have changed, but that's not what's happening. They are refusing to budge, and as of right now, they didn't really do anything. So hopefully we'll see something happen soon because of all this pressure that's being applied. And I have to imagine that if nothing changes within Activision anytime soon, Sony and Microsoft will be forced to do something significant, and we're going to have to continue to wait and watch and see how this all plays out. But we're going to move on to the next topic, which briefly talks about Mark Cerny, because recently he did a new interview with Wired, or maybe not necessarily an interview, but a new video with Wired, where he breaks down the PlayStation 5 and talks about it in depth. And I think that this is worth talking about briefly because we don't really hear from Mark Cerny all too often, and I think that PlayStation fans really enjoy hearing from Mark Cerny. So this is reading from PlayStation Universe. A new video from Wired features PlayStation's own Mark Cerny talking about the PlayStation 5, how it was created, and a lot of thinking that he put into the design of the console. The video is mainly just hearing Cerny talk about his time in development and how he and the rest of the development team came to the decisions they did when making the next-gen PlayStation console. It's interesting to hear more about the PS5 and the thinking that went behind it. Hearing Cerny further break down certain features like ray tracing as well was also very intriguing to get a better understanding of how these new features can be utilized. And so I do think that the most interesting aspect of this video is it's about 15 minutes long, and it brings me back to the Road to PlayStation 5 video or live stream that was done before the big reveal of the PlayStation 5 and with the build-up of the PlayStation 5, and that was about an hour long. This video basically condenses everything that Mark Cerny said. It seems like he pretty much is presenting the same thing, but in a much more palatable way, right? In a much shorter, more easily digestible way. And so that's why I do recommend it if you're somebody who watched that Road to PlayStation 5 in its entirety and maybe didn't fully understand it, or you need it to be kind of like broken down and simplified a little bit more. I think that that's what this is. And it's interesting because I almost feel like this Wired video and the way Mark Cerny's talking about it in such a concise way would have actually benefited Sony more at that time than the entire hour-long, really in-depth discussion. Although, even though at the time it was made clear that this was for developers and it was supposed to be for like GDC and whatnot, but still, I would highly recommend checking this out. It's always good to hear from Mr. Cerny. But moving on to the next topic, this is something that I feel the need to continue to cover when it comes to significant updates. We have Rockstar Games apologizing for the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy or the Definitive Trilogy and its technical issues. This is reading from PlayStation Lifestyle, and it says Rockstar Games has issued an apology to fans about the state of the GTA Trilogy after its launch on November 11th. The publisher acknowledged the technical issues players have encountered in Grand Theft Auto the Trilogy Definitive Edition and confirmed the games did not launch in a state that meets our own standards of quality. The trilogy hadn't met the standards fans have come to expect either. Players so far widely criticized the appearance of the models and textures. Others have encountered bugs, glitches, and a variety of performance issues. PC players were even unable to play for the first few days after launch, as Rockstar disabled it in order to remove files like licensed music and the infamous Hot Coffee minigame that shouldn't have been there. A title update will be released over the coming days, and the hope that this solves some of the ongoing issues. Rockstar's plans also include further updates until the trilogy reaches the quality they had intended. Something else that's pretty important with this coming from Rockstar is they say we will be adding the classic PC versions of GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas back to the Rockstar store shortly as a bundle. Additionally, everyone who has purchased Grand Theft Auto the Definitive Trilogy edition for PC from the Rockstar store through June 30th, 2022 will receive these classic versions in their Rockstar Games Launcher library at no additional cost. We will update everyone as soon as these are back on the Rockstar store. And this article continues by saying, while PC players will be able to purchase the classic versions of the three games once again, there is no word on whether the same courtesy will be restored for console players. All previous versions of GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas had been removed from the PlayStation Store in October in preparation for this trilogy release. And so there you go. That is the official statement from Rockstar Games. I think this whole thing is just, frankly, pitiful. It shouldn't be like this. I feel like it's gotten to a point with the amount of publishers that are willing to just put their game out there full well knowing it's not ready, it's not done. It's just reached a point of ridiculousness. And I do feel kind of bad for the developers as well, because the truth of the matter is it's not really their fault, at least not 100%. I've seen that apparently some people are like harassing the devs, and you got to ease up on that. You have to understand that decisions like this are made from the top, and it's not the developers who get to choose when to release the game. It's the executives who are beholden to the shareholders and whatnot. And so all that was really needed in this case, Rockstar's out here saying, we're going to fix the game, we're going to update it. You could have just delayed the game and, I don't know, maybe do something crazy like release it when it was done, finished, and just ready to go. You could have done that. Or maybe from the start, if the development team just wasn't able to take on a project like this, because apparently the development team, Grove Street Games, they are kind of like a mobile port house. That's kind of what I've heard. If that's the case, then that's still, you know, Rockstar's fault. That's still the publisher's fault, because you should have known. You should have known that you would need a more talented studio, a more suitable studio with a better pedigree to take on something like this, right? I mean, one of the things I said is that seeing how this has been handled, it's just disrespectful to the source material here. GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, they're some of the greatest games ever made. So you would think that they would be treated with the type of care and respect that the fans would hope for, right? And it's just sad that it's had to come to this, but here's where we are. You know, again, I don't know how many more times we're gonna have to go through this. I thought that there was something kind of suspicious going on with this when, as we got closer to release, there was like no gameplay. I think gameplay officially was released, what, like less than 24 hours from the time of launch, and I'm just like, okay, clearly they knew that this wasn't ready to go, and they put it out there anyway. And we're just seeing yet another situation where a massive AAA video game publisher pushed out a game before it was finished and ready to go, collected their money. They're in the process of counting their money, and there's uproar, so they stop counting their money briefly to say, sorry, we'll fix it, don't worry, it's going to get updated. And then they promptly go back to counting their money, and they continue to get away with this because people continue to just buy things. And I get it, you know, I can understand why anybody who, you know, likes these games, how this is really, you know, the nostalgia factor really working against you. But I don't know. I think that this ultimately just serves to hurt the Rockstar Games reputation. And, you know, hopefully they'll learn from this. I guess that's all we can really take away from it. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. Be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.